And I thought with everything going on in the next 24 hours with Matariki and also with the arrival of Prime Minister Modi, I thought it was a good chance for me to talk with you. So happy to take any questions you may have.
This deal that you're looking into, this agreement with Fiji and Australia, what will it take for us to officially get there rather than just looking into it?
Yeah, so we want to engage with Australia and Fiji about our participation in joining the alliance. We think it's actually good for regional security across the Pacific. Obviously, there need to be a formal cabinet decision, and then it's a normal treaty process that would have to be run through as well. So there's a wee way to go, but we're very supportive of it. We think it's actually good that actually security concerns are solved with regional solutions, and this is a really good alliance. We have long-standing relationships, as you know, an ally relationship with Australia, and we've had long-standing relationships with Fiji, and there's lots of things of common interest that we have together as well. So we'll engage with the Australians, we'll have some discussions, we'll come back to cabinet, and then we'll go through a treaty process.
Is there concern here about the Chinese government and what they might be thinking about New Zealand potentially entering into this pact?
No, not at all. This is really about, we've always said we want Pacific solutions to Pacific challenges, and with respect to security concerns that exist within the Pacific, this is a really good move. It consolidates a lot of what's been happening at a bilateral level for many of us across the Pacific. We have our only ally relationship, which is Australia, and we're getting closer and closer with our defence relationship there, probably the closest it's ever been. And then likewise with Fiji, we've had long-standing support of Fiji, and we've had particular focus on transnational organised crime. And of course, this alliance actually commits the players and the partners who are involved with it to consult and cooperate and obviously act if there's a common danger.
I mean,
Sorry.
Fiji an official defence partner of New Zealand? It's been Australia for such a long time, only, so that's why.
Well, it would be our second ally relationship, so it's a mutual defence treaty, which would mean only one we've had is Australia as our only ally, and again, as a signatory to this Ocean to Peace Alliance, should we be successful if we decide to go through with it, which we have huge interest in doing so. Yes, you're right, that would be our second ally relationship.
Did China's testing of its missile on Monday play into that desire to join this pact?
No, not at all. This has been something that I've spoken to both the Prime Minister of Australia and Fiji, Prime Minister Rambuka and Albanese about in recent months. I knew they were progressing it, and I knew it would create an option where countries can possibly join after they have signed it. They've signed it this week. We're signalling our interests as a cabinet. We obviously want to now commence negotiations and discussions with both Australia and Fiji, and then bring it back to cabinet for decision making and then the treaty. But with respect to China, again, as we've seen this week, I mean, it's pretty unwelcome and concerning the actions that we've seen. Firing a long-range missile into a nuclear-free Pacific goes against the spirit of how we want to have an ocean of peace in the Pacific. We don't want to see this becoming standard behaviour. We don't want to see an increasing militarisation of the Pacific. And this is the second activity we've seen in 18 months.
So New Zealand looking to explore that pact has nothing to do with this missile or this dummy missile that was fired?
No. I've been in conversations with both Prime Ministers, I said, well before the Chinese missile launch. Well, you'd have to ask the Chinese about that. In the last 18 months, as we saw a Chinese naval group come through the Tasman Sea, if you remember, 18 months ago. It's obviously we want to express our concern about it because we don't want this to become a normalised habit. And I just think it goes against the spirit. And you've seen many other Pacific leaders, frankly, in recent days actually issue their own statements saying it's concerning and unwelcome as well. And I think that's important because launching a long-range missile into a Pacific nuclear-free area and ramping up militarisation within the Pacific is not what we need to see.
Did you talk to the Chinese government?
Sorry?
Would you envisage a sort of Pacific-wide defence architecture in the future?
Well, again, this is an alliance, a mutual defence alliance structure between Australia and Fiji. They want to set it up so that other countries can join. New Zealand's putting its hand up and saying we have interest in this. We think that would be good for us to be part of that ultimately. We need to go through discussions and negotiations, and then yes, there will be other countries that may express a desire to join as well, but that's hypothetical as to who and what and how.
Have you spoken to the Chinese government or the ambassador in New Zealand about potentially joining this pact?
Not about this, but we've expressed our frustration and our concern about the missile launch, both here in Beijing and here in New Zealand. And I've done that through defence channels and all through foreign affairs channels as well.
How long away is a decision?
Look, we'll take as long as it takes. I mean, we've expressed to the Australians and the Fijians we've got interest. As a cabinet, we've said, yes, we do formally want to progress those conversations in a more formal way.
Is that years or is that months?
I think we can move through it hopefully very quickly. Yeah.
Your critics are...
Sorry.
What does significance be of Fiji becoming New Zealand's second ally?
Well, just where there's an area of common danger, we would both reciprocate and support each other.
Your critics have described, just on another matter,
Well, just quickly,
Yes.
why is it needed when we're such a tight ally of Australia?
Because actually this is about a Pacific solution to a Pacific concern around security. We think it's actually good for the region, and Fiji is also a place that we've had a long-standing relationship with. Joint military exercises, joint training, our own resources in Fiji, and vice versa. And so we feel very comfortable with two long-term partners of New Zealand that are key players across the Pacific. Sorry, Jason.
Did the National Party in your government bite off a little bit more than it could chew when it came to the roads of national significance and the funding for that going forward?
No, we've committed to the 17 roads of national significance, but in order to get things done and not just boil the ocean, you actually have to chunk it down into groups. We've got obviously construction underway in phase 1. We've got construction being really prepared for in phase 2, and we've got planning happening in phase 3. And so actually sequencing and phasing those projects was always part of the plan, and to make sure that we actually can deliver, because we've got 6, I think, projects up and running on roads of national significance by the time we get to early New Year, and that's great, but we need to make sure we focus, we deliver on those really well, then we move to the next bucket, and then the next bucket.
Why wasn't this made more clear back in 2023 when you promised these things?
Well, we've always said we have to phase them and we have to sequence them. It's a natural, we can't do them all at once. It also helps the infrastructure industry have real clarity about the pipeline as to which projects are important, where resources need to be, where the bids will be, and how they can get involved in that.
Your critics have labelled this a back down. What would be your response to
I
that?
disagree. It's just good management and good disciplined management to actually say if you want to deliver things and get things done, you actually do need to break the project stream into phases, and that's what we're doing.
How significant of a security operation can Aucklanders expect with Modi's visit over the weekend?
It'll be very significant, and that's purely because we've got a very significant world leader in town. As I said, the first time an Indian Prime Minister's come to New Zealand in 40 years, but a major significant global player, and as you'd expect, there'll be intense security.
Are you aware of any security concerns?
I don't talk about security intelligence issues.
I know you don't really like to talk about polls, but I just have to ask, because you've just launched, or National has just launched this massive KiwiSaver policy, and in this latest Taxpayers Union poll, it's only seen National to give 0.4% boost. Did you expect maybe a little bit more from them now?
Look, I just don't talk about polls. I'm focused on doing what I need to do, which is I think National's got the right long-term plan to grow the economy, to make life more affordable for New Zealanders. I think the choices become increasingly stark as we get closer to the election and people get dialed into it, which is we need to go back to the past with Labor and the other parties, taxing more, spending more, borrowing more, or you actually stick with a party that's actually got a long-term plan doing the right thing by New Zealanders for the long run.
We've seen a lot of bad weather recently. Are you concerned our infrastructure isn't going to be able to cope for the changing climate moving forward?
Yeah, a lot of what we're doing, if you think about, say, the Hawke's Bay Expressway, we're building that back, obviously expanding that to a 4-lane freeway, but actually building it in a much more resilient way. So actually resilience has been built into the infrastructure builds that we've got, and you're exactly right. We just need to put it into the bloodstream of just how we do things. With respect to the South Island, Mark Mitchell's been down there most of the week. He went down over the weekend. There were challenges in Oamaru, and obviously and more big flooding challenges in Kaikoura. I spoke to the Mayor last night. I'll speak to him again tonight as well. The real challenges there are around bridges, roads, gravel out of seabeds, out of riverbanks, and obviously some clean-up. Fortunately, it wasn't mass scale flooding damage to homes, but there were some there too. So again, what I was impressed about is New Zealand has had good advance warning. The join-up between local and central government was really tight. The mayors and their local emergency management was excellent, and importantly, New Zealanders did the right thing, got prepared, and didn't do stupid things like try and drive through rising floodwaters, which was good.
Are you concerned our fuel prices are going to go back up with these recent developments between Iran and the US?
Well, again, that's why it's a very fragile situation, as we've been saying. We want to see peace and stability in the Middle East. We urge all the parties to actually, abide by the agreement that's been reached, the MOU, and actually keep working at it. That's going to have, otherwise it's caused huge amounts of suffering to 8 billion people all around the world, as well as here at home in New Zealand. As you've seen, we have temporary, timely, targeted support for people. We've also put aside money in case, given the volatility of this conflict, that should we need to support people further, we can. Should we see another uptick in prices, again, what we saw this week was fuel, under the regionally weighted average from MB, below the $3 mark. We'd want to see that for 4 weeks in a row before we withdrew support.
AT this morning had a bit of a dress rehearsal at the Karangahape CRL station. When's it going to open for the rest of New Zealand?
I haven't been told that date, Jason, myself. So have you got any inside knowledge yourself? So.
Well, you might.
No, I've been told it's coming. It's this year for sure, which we definitely expect it to be, and it needs to be, frankly. But they're getting closer, is all I hear. But I just don't have a date off the top of my head either.
Why is it under such lock and key? I mean, you're the Prime Minister. You know aliens, you don't know.
Well, can I reassure you, Jason, aliens don't exist. We don't have a secret Roswell sort of facility here in New Zealand, and I haven't seen anything in the secret book of secrets that says that they have been here recently. But as with the CRL, you better direct that to them.
Just speaking kind of generally.
About aliens, or no?
Well, just if you want to share, but on transport and the roads of national significance,
Yeah.
just generally speaking, can people trust political parties with these transport policies if there isn't any money?
Well, yes, because that's why we're doing what we're doing, is chunking down and saying, hey, look, there's 3 buckets of activity here. Let's focus on the first bucket and implement it really well. And as I said, we'll have 6 of the 17 roads of national significance up and running and under construction by the time we get to the new year. The second bucket is then getting those prepared. There's a lot of land acquisition, there's a lot of consenting that's needed. And then the third bucket is planning for that work to commence. And again, it's a lot of planning and protecting corridors and purchasing land that takes some time to do all of that. So that's exactly why we do it in phases, is to make sure that the money is focused on the things that can get done and delivered, and then we move on to the next challenges. But I also think your question's a good one, which is that's why we've talked about the 30-year infrastructure pipeline that we want to see built and owned ultimately by the Infrastructure Commission, so that if governments come and go and change colours, that actually shouldn't be a reason for why infrastructure gets turned on or off. We've got some classic examples from 2018 where roads were on, off, and then it's taking us way too long to get things done. So that's why we want to improve the infrastructure system, the planning system in particular, to get things built quickly, but that's also why we need to chunk it down and phase it into the buckets of work.
Just on Moody's security operation this weekend, what are the kind of delays that Aucklanders could expect?
Look, I mean, there'll just be a bigger visible police presence. I'll let you talk to the police as to what they'll share about that. But it just shouldn't be a surprise that this is a very significant country in the world. It's a very significant world leader, and we want to make sure that he's looked after and protected.
Do you have a message for New Zealanders perhaps about how they should act in response?
Oh, look, I think it's just a real time of celebration, frankly. I mean, this is not every day you get to have a leader of a major world power come to New Zealand, and that is testament to the strength of the relationship that we've been able to build. It's testament to the work that we've got ahead in the economic space, the defence space, and also the strong people-to-people links. This is an amazing Indian-Kiwi community that, as we keep saying, is the living bridge between New Zealand and India, and we want to be celebrating that over the course of the weekend as well. So that's going to be a really great time.
Just to be clear, do you think a decision on the alliance will come before the election? It does sound like officials are suggesting that would be unlikely.
Yeah, look, I think it will take some time. I just don't have an indication of timings. In fairness, the Australians and the Fijians have only just announced the agreement this week. We're signalling pretty quickly out of the blocks that we'd like to participate and engage with them on further discussions and negotiations about us joining that. That'll take as long as it takes, frankly, and I don't want to put a time frame on that or need to do so.
It's fair to assume that you disagree with China's characterisation of the deal, which is that it's seeking selfish political gain and they don't engage in geopolitical rivalry. Is that not how you would see the deal?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really the Pacific coming together and saying we want to have Pacific solutions to Pacific challenges, and so this gives us security within the region. That's a good thing. I think more importantly, you've seen a lot of Pacific Island leaders issue statements with respect to the Chinese missiles and about how they feel about that.
Are you enjoying your new robot lawnmower?
I don't get to see it, mate. Yeah.
Does it have a name?
No. Da Vinci, I think, was the last idea from my wife, but no, it does its job, sort of. Yeah. All right, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. We've discussed